Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning to some. Appreciate everyone joining today's webinar. My name is Zane Zintek. I'm one of the product managers here at Arbiter Sports, and I'll be conducting today's presentation. Today we'll be covering providing your availability through blocks in Arbiter. So we'll cover things from the desktop side of things where you can manage your blocks, and then we'll also show you things over on the mobile app as well. So we'll get into the desktop version first, and then we'll jump over to the mobile app. If you weren't able to attend yesterday's presentation, we kind of walked through scheduling and covered that. And then tomorrow we'll be covering a different topic. We'll be covering the payment aspect of Arbiter, and then Thursday covering kind of eligibility and registration. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. We are going to start over on the dashboard page. This is a page that is kind of a new concept depending on when you officiated last year. This is kind of something we've rolled out over the last year. But this My Account dashboard is going to be one consolidated spot for you to come to as an official now to kind of manage all aspects of your task as an official throughout any of your different groups, not just one particular group. So all of that can be done from this dashboard page here. A few things I wanted to point out. You've got ready to be assigned on this dashboard page. That's something you need to make sure is checked before an assigner can give you an assignment. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. But the other things here, you've got your central hubs for all your different groups, games flowing from all your different groups, and then announcements from all your different groups. So just wanted to point out that dashboard page and kind of the My Account approach, because the same thing with scheduling where everything's flowing to one schedule and you are able to kind of manage everything from one spot instead of having to jump between your different assigning groups if you are an official in different assigning groups. Blocks is going to work the same way, where you can come to blocks under the My Account option and kind of manage your blocks for any of your groups depending on the permissions that those groups do allow. Blocks is something that depending on the assigning groups that you're being assigned from, you're going to see different options. The different options you see here, if you're in groups that allow all kinds of blocks, you'll see all 6 of these options underneath the blocks tabs. These are the different things that you do have the ability to block within Arbiter. But like I said, this is going to be determined by the settings of your assigner, and they'll kind of dictate which one of these you have access to. Block dates, though, is something that it is available pretty much in most groups. The majority of groups that are doing assigning through Arbiter are requiring their officials to enter in their availability when it comes to when they're available. And that means that you as an official are required to go in and basically set dates that you're not available to officiate. The way that Arbiter works, and kind of the logic behind our availability, is you start out available for everything unless you go in and tell the system that you're not available. So instead of starting out unavailable for everything, you start out available for everything until you go in and you start setting up those blocks. Or on the assigner side, you might have to meet certain criteria in order to get assigned games for particular dates. But a lot of times those assigners are going to be looking at your availability to see if you are available for particular games on certain dates. Blocking dates can be done in desktop and over in the mobile app. So if your main concern with blocks is making sure your dates are blocked, that's something you can do on the go in the mobile app. You do have some limitations in the mobile app as far as these other things that you are able to come in here and set blocks for. But block dates is something available in the mobile app, and we'll get into that later on. When you do come into the block dates screen, a few things that I want to point out. Over on the left-hand side, you have your list of the different assigning groups that you are a member in. The groups that allow block dates are going to be checked by default when you come into the block date screen. Groups that do not allow block dates, so maybe you're part of a group that doesn't actually do assigning, so they don't allow blocks in their particular group. That's really the one time where I see groups not allow block dates is they're a non-assigning group. But for the majority of groups that are assigning, you're going to be able to block dates for those groups. So you can come over here and decide which groups you're wanting to set blocks for. I think in most cases, if you're setting a block for one group, it's for all groups, but I know that there's some specific instances where you might want to set a block for one group, but not for another. Maybe you want your college assigner to see your availability as open, but you want the high school assigner to know that you're blocked for that time frame. That's something that you can do. So first thing is making sure you select the groups that you want to put the block date on. The second thing down here is this action section. These are the different actions that you can perform when creating a block date. The first one is just viewing schedule, so this is not going to give you the ability to block any dates or unblock dates, but these next three will put stuff on this calendar over here, so you can either block all day, block partial day, or clear blocks. The two options below that, add notes and firm block, are basically add-ons to any of these three actions here. So if you're wanting to block an all day and also add a note to that date, you can click this add-on of add notes, and maybe you want to make it a firm block as well. You can click the add-on of firm block. Just to clarify on firm blocks, that's basically you telling the assigner that I've got a block on this date and you can't assign me any games. If it's not a firm block, you've basically told the assigner, hey, I could be busy during this time frame, but if you assign me a game and I'm able to take that game, perhaps I can accept that game. So it's kind of a block, but a soft block in a way that you still could be available depending on if the assigner needed you or not. So if you want to make it to where the assigner cannot give you any games during the time slot or for a particular date, you would want to make sure that it was marked as a firm block. So to block all days, you click block all day. You can come in here, and if you've got the same note for all the different groups, come in here and maybe you want to say you've got a doctor's appointment, and you can come over here to the calendar and you can select one date, or you can come in here and choose a particular date range that you want to add all of these blocked all days for. So in this particular case, we'll come in here, we're going to go to the 26th, and we're going to block that one date. Down below, it's going to show you that a block was created for all the different assigning groups that you indicated up here to the left. And it's going to show you the note that you also provided those assigners with. It's going to indicate whether it was a firm block or not over here on the right-hand side. Here's your time status. So if it's an all-day block, it'll just say all-day block instead of from and to. If you needed to adjust one of these for whatever reason, you can come in here and edit that block, click save, and it'll save that block again. I mentioned blocking kind of a date range. If you needed to do that, you would come up here into this little section, and maybe we want to block the 29th through the 31st of August. I can come up here, select the 29th, select the 31st. And this is where if you had a larger date range besides 29th through the 31st, I could come in here and indicate specific dates within that date range that I either wanted to leave open or to block all day. So there's a little bit of customization here with kind of how you set up the blocks. If you're needing to set up a short date range of blocks or an extended period of blocks, kind of this date range option up here will let you do that. So if we wanted to do it for the 29th to the 31st, we apply those, and now if we go over to the 29th, we'll see we also created blocks for those particular dates using the same note over here to the left-hand side. So now we're going to go through partial day blocks. This is if you wanted to block a specific time frame on a day and not the entire day. So maybe you've got that 8 to 5 job. You want to let the assigner know that you are blocked off from 8 to 5. You can come in here. We'll go to September. Say block part day. Same thing with the add notes. If you want to add notes, you can. We do want to make this a firm block. Then for partial day blocks, you've got this time range section. So this is where I'd come in, and if I had the 8 to 5 job, I could set it to 8 to 5. Maybe I wanted to set it to 8 to 5:30, give me a little more cushion there, I could. But if you select 8 to 5, then you're basically coming in. You can select a day, or you can use the same little date range filter here. So maybe I wanted to do all of September. Let's go September 1st, the end of September. Not only work Monday through Friday, so I don't want to block Saturdays and Sundays. So I've got 8 to 5 selected, work, block part day, firm block. Let's click apply. And you'll notice it now puts that partial day block on the entire month of September. And if I go to one of the dates, it says work. Basically, if an assigner did try to assign me a game between 8 and 5, it would let them know that I was not available for that particular time frame on that date. One thing that it also does, let's say an assigner tries to assign you a game at 5:30, it'll look at your address and the site address, and if there's too much of a drive between your address and the site address, then you would come up as not available to that assigner. So they've got metrics built in to where you're given that cushion if you've got blocks set up and you need kind of a little bit of cushion to get to a field or a court to work your game. So I did want to mention that. Clearing blocks, that's your third action item over here. Instead of adding notes, you're not really going to add notes or firm block when you clear a block. But with that, you're basically coming in here. You can do the same thing if you wanted to and clear all these day blocks, but in most situations, I see blocks cleared one by one. So maybe you had a date blocked and plans changed and that day suddenly became available. You could come in here, click on that particular date, and it'll delete the block. Let's go back to August. Let's see. This one was automatically created. Let's see if I do this one over 20. I'm picking ones that were automatically created. Blocks can be automatically created. This is a good thing for me to mention. An assigner can set up a preference on their side to where if you decline a game, it sets up an automatic block. There's two different preferences there. They can set it up to where if you decline a game, it blocks the entire date, or if you decline a game, it just blocks that specific time frame. So that's kind of one of the settings an assigner can use to help out when games are declined. So if you've got a block that's been created because you declined a game, you would not have that option to clear that specific block. But any blocks that were created by yourself that were not from you declining a game, you could come in here, select a specific date, and it would clear the block from that particular date. You do have the ability to pull a report of your blocks, kind of a calendar report here. The other option for pulling a report of your blocks can be done under the summary tab over here. And it's basically a summary of all these different blocks options that you have and not just block dates. So those are kind of your two options for pulling a report if you wanted a hard copy and wanted to see kind of a summary of those blocks that you've entered. So that's kind of block dates in the desktop version. The next couple things I'm going to talk about are these other tabs that you have available to you here. mentioned at the very beginning of the call, these are determined on whether the assigning group has given you the permission to access these different tabs. The other thing about these tabs is the number of sites you can block, or the number of teams you can block, or the number of partners you can block is also a setting that is determined by the assigner. So they may limit you on how many you can block. Maybe your limit's 5, maybe your limit's 10. You will see that once you meet that limit, you'll basically see a message that says you've met your limit of blocked sites, and you would have to unblock one before you could block an additional site. So to block a site, you can come down here. You've got this option to choose the different assigning groups in their list of sites. Any groups that are grayed out do not give you permission to access blocked sites. You'll only see this option here if you've got multiple groups that you're a part of, and at least one of those groups does allow you to block sites. Otherwise, you wouldn't even see this sites tab under blocks if none of your groups allow you to block sites. But if you do have a group that allows you to block sites, you'll have this capability to come in here. You can select any of the sites. So maybe you're an alumni of one of these particular schools, and you're not supposed to work at that game because of conflicts. You could come in here and block any sites that you needed to for that particular reason. Maybe you had a site that was outside of your range that you felt comfortable driving to. You could block those sites. Some of that can also be done in travel limits and postal codes, but if you only have the ability to block sites, that's where that could be done. You can select the sites here, click Save. It'll show you when those particular sites have been blocked, and if you needed to come in here and undo a couple, you could uncheck them, click Save, and it would unblock those sites. Teams works very similar to how sites works, except that with teams, you can also set whether you only want to block them for home games or only want to block them for away games, or a combination of the two. It won't count as 2 separate blocks. If you do home and away, that would still be treated as one block. So if you had that limit of up to 5 teams, then you could do 5 different teams, both home and away. This is kind of where you see kind of the alumni situation come into play again, or maybe you have a son or daughter on a team that you're not allowed to officiate during their games. That's where you would come in here, block those specific teams, or maybe you had past history with a coach from a team that you didn't want to work any games for. You could come in here and block those teams if given the opportunity by your assigning association. Partners, that's where you can come in and actually block a particular person within that assigning group. So another official. So maybe you didn't want to work with this person for a particular reason. You could come in here and indicate that. You don't have to leave any comments. This one's one that I don't see a lot of assigning groups use, but when it is used, it's definitely capped, especially with the shortage of officials. So block partners, that's something you can come in here, choose Save. It'll give you the timestamp. If you needed to unblock them, deselect them, click Save. It'll take them off your blocked list. Travel limits is basically you telling the assigner how far you're willing to travel from your postal code. We basically pull the postal code from your address, and from there, we basically let you dictate how far you would want to travel from that postal code on the particular dates here. So this is one that you'd also have to have permission from your assigning group to come in here and change. If I wanted to change the distance on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, come in here, change that distance to where I could be assigned games in a little wider range from this postal code that you have listed here. If you need to change the postal code, you can come up here, change that postal code, and come down to a particular date and update that. Postal codes, this is where if you would block an entire postal code, this one's not super common, but if I had a postal code that I wanted to come in here and block any basically games that were in this postal code, I could come in here, add that postal code, click save, and the assigner would see that. This one's not super common. I typically see travel limits used more than postal codes. But if you did have that ability, you could come in here and block an entire postal code. Then finally, I mentioned if you wanted a summary of all your blocks, you can come in here and pull a PDF or an Excel of the different summaries from the different accounts. Click here, print preview, and print that off, and it'd be a hard copy of your different blocks. So that's blocks over in the desktop of Arbiter. I mentioned desktop is where you would need to go to do any blocks besides dates. Block dates can be done in the app, and we'll jump over there now. So if you did need to do block sites, block teams, partners, travel limits, postal codes, or you wanted that full summary, that would need to be done over in the desktop version of Arbiter still. All right, so we're going to jump over to the mobile app. I'm not going to show you live, but I'm going to show you some screenshots. And I'm also going to show you in the App Store, so both in the App Store for Apple and the Google Play Store. I highly encourage you, if you've not downloaded our Arbiter Sports app, to come in, give that app a download. If you did not attend yesterday's webinar, a update on our app, for those who have been around at Arbiter for 5 to 10 years, we've had an existing Arbiter Sports app for our sports officials that we've supported the last 10 years. We have, over the last 6 months, rebuilt that kind of functionality that was in our current officials app and built it into our new Arbiter Sports app that has been supporting our schools over the last 2 years. That's the app that you're going to see here on my screen with the red background and the capital AS in the little icon there. And this app now supports our officials, it supports our schools, and it supports the public. So you as an official can come in using the same credentials you use in desktop, sign into the Arbiter Sports app, and from there get access to your schedule, get access to your payments, and get access to a few additional things that you had over in that old officials app, but we've since brought over into this new app. An update about the old officials app, we have removed it from the App Store. That's to encourage people to download this new app and to avoid some confusion on which app to download. If you've got that old officials app, we'll continue to support that for the next 2 months or 3 months, and we are looking to kind of deprecate and remove that old app and quit supporting that old app come 10/1. So October 1st is when we're looking to no longer support that app. And that's when we would be migrating all of those existing users over to this new Arbiter Sports app that I'm showing you here and that we're going to walk through here momentarily. So download it if you've not yet. We have tried to build all of the existing functionality into this new app, but we've also added some cool new features and functions, and we're going to continue to add new features and functions. We were a little limited in what we could do in that old app, but we've got a lot of opportunity to continue to add on in this new app. So feel free to download that and provide your feedback so we can continue to add cool features and functions. Today, we're going to specifically talk about blocks in the mobile app. We kind of covered all of the scheduling stuff yesterday, if you attended yesterday's webinar. Today, we're going to focus on the blocks piece since that's kind of what this webinar is about. Blocks on your calendar are going to show up in red with a red dot. We told you yesterday that games show up with a green dot and that events show up with a blue dot. Blocks will show up with that red dot. So you have the option to either go by weekly view here, or if you click this little down button here, it would expand to a monthly view where you would be able to see your blocks for the entire month. To add a block, you're going to come right up here to this plus button and click on it, and it's going to take you to the add block screen. From this add block screen, there's a few things I wanted to point out. If this is a partial block, you can leave things as is with the date selected and then your specific time frame selected. You wouldn't need to select all day. You would not need to select repeat. Firm would be that optional step for you there. If you wanted to make sure your assigners didn't assign you a game, you definitely want to check that firm button. Groups would let you see which groups you were going to put that block for, and then the ability to add notes. So this is what you would see if you were going to do a partial day block. You come in here, you select your date, and then once you select your date, you select your time, and you would click save, and it would put that on the 3rd of July. But if we needed to come in here and edit a particular block for whatever reason, we can come in here and click on that block. And we've got the edit pencil here, where if we click the edit pencil, it'll basically take us back to that block screen where we can change our time, we can change the specific date, and any of the information related to it. The other thing that we can do on this particular block screen is delete a block. So if you've added a block that you no longer want to see on your schedule, you could come in here and click that delete block and confirm that delete. When you delete over in the app, that's going to delete over in the desktop. Same thing, if you add in the desktop, it's going to show up in the app. If you delete in the desktop, it's going to delete in the app. So it all works together there. Let's see, the other thing that I wanted to show you, okay, is when we need to do an all-day block. You do have that option to select an all-day block in the app as well. You're going to select the all-day option, and then if you wanted to select a date range of those all-day blocks, so we kind of showed you how to do that over on the desktop using this date range option here. To do that in the mobile app, you're going to click this repeat option and basically select a start and an end date to put those all-day blocks. And then you could come in here, select firm if you needed to, add any notes if you needed to, select the specific groups that you wanted to either take off or add. And then you could come in here and click save, and it would add that all-day block. So that's kind of creating, editing, adding blocks from the mobile app. I get in here and definitely try testing that out if you've not done so yet. If you want to filter for blocks, you can come up here to the little funnel option where you can select kind of the parameters of the filter if you wanted to just filter for blocks or filter for just games. So those are some of the different filtering options you've got there. That is it for today's webinar covering blocks. I hope that this was helpful. I know as we start the new school year, a lot of you are going to need to come in and kind of set up your availability for your assigners and let them know when you are and when you are not available. So hopefully this was beneficial, showing you how to do that. We do have 2 additional webinars tomorrow and Thursday. Tomorrow's topic will be setting up and using Arbiter Pay, and Thursdays will be eligibility and registration. We'll be kind of showing you both how to manage that in the desktop as well as how it's managed over in the new mobile app. So definitely make sure you register for those 2 if you've not done so yet. We put a link in the chat for you to register for those, and don't miss out. We've got a lot of great content for you the next 2 days. Thank you for joining, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow and Thursday. Have a great day.